Hey friends, Anime Analyzed here, back with part 2 of the second Meaning of Music episode. To start things off, I just want to warn everybody that we'll be discussing some very dark topics in this video, so I won't be my usual cheery self. I've had some time to think about this soundtrack and read some analyses of people on the internet, and there are some connections to horrible real-world events that may be difficult to hear. Of course, this video is going to be talking about the legendary soundtrack Kingdom of Predators from Hunter x Hunter, and I would strongly urge you to watch that because it covers some of the groundwork necessary to understand this video. But the wait is over, and I can't wait to discuss it, so let's dive right in. So as a recap, last week we talked about the variations on a theme structure which is prominently used in classical Western music and talked about why each of the variations of Kingdom of Predators is significant in the greater context of the story. And by the end of it, we came to a conclusion that the three variations together build a very somber and lamenting atmosphere, almost as if grieving the death of Meruem and wondering what the world could be like if he was allowed to live and rule the world. The irony here is that we are privy to Meruem's growth as a character and his transformation from a cruel and tyrannical existence to one who grows to appreciate weaker life forms. In the last week, I had some time to go back and rewatch some of these scenes, and I came to a dark conclusion. Although Meruem was an all-powerful being, he was not at all immune to human technology, and this is a very humbling prospect. Sometimes we have to think about anime in a greater cultural context, and to me, The Poor Man's Rose is Togashi's representation of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Of course, Togashi didn't delve into the many innocent lives lost in the process, and there's a lot of detail he doesn't capture in his representation of this devastating event. But what he does capture is the powerlessness of humanity in the face of technology. Netero and Meruem are the strongest characters we see in this series, and we get to witness the sacrifices involved in both characters developing their superhuman strength. Netero had to train for decades and literally give up his entire life to the practice of Nen. And the Queen Ant had to literally eat an entire nation worth of people to create Meruem. And none of those sacrifices stood a chance against the power of this cheap, mass-producible weapon. In the process, it speaks to how powerless an entire life, or many thousands of lives worth of sacrifice truly can be. So naturally, I want to analyze Kingdom of Predators in the context of the Little Man's Rose explanation scene, and I'll play the melodies on my viola. Let's break it down, starting with the beginning of the song where we hear this melody. A perfect and innocuous introduction to the tragic scene that would follow. Then we hear the main melody. The narrator states that many roses had bloomed in various parts of the world as a result of how cheap the bomb was to build, which is a clear euphemism that downplays the sheer size and destructive force that is the poor man's rose. In my mind, this mirrors World War II propaganda from all countries that romanticized engaging in war for the betterment of humanity. The melody does not just repeat, however. It is met with all sorts of dissonance from the brass section, followed by quick dismissals from the string section, as if to remind us that humanity was well aware of the destruction that would ensue in both real life and in the anime, but then promptly decided to ignore it. Then the song reaches its climax, where we hear the timpani roar to life, accompanied by cymbals crashing as if to represent the actual detonation, layered onto this haunting melody. And this, to me, is a clear representation of the actual destruction of human life caused by both the Poor Man's Rose and the Hiroshima-Nagasaki bombing. We then reach the final cello-piano duet. To me, this melody represents the voices of regret for the toll humanity as a whole had to pay for these weapons, and the fact that the melody dissipates quietly into the distance is a pessimistic reminder that time will always move forward and we will never learn from our mistakes. There are a lot of dark themes explored in Hunter x Hunter, but personally the one that affects me the most every time I watch it is that there are certain things we just cannot take back. We live in a world where we just replay videos, restart video games, and Control-Z mistakes on our computers. But the reality is that a majority of our choices don't come with an undo button. And the biggest thing we cannot take back is, of course, a life. Now, the Antark also explores various things that bring us together, like friendship through the eyes of Killua and Ikolgo, and duty in the eyes of the Royal Guard. But note that these examples are completely overshadowed by the various instances of loss. Gon, of course, loses his Nen, and to this day we don't see him in the series. Killua decides to end his friendship with Gon, and this seemingly inseparable duo that we spend the entire series so far exploring are never seen together again. At its heart, the Antark is a story about the fickleness of nature and the permanence of loss. The lament felt in Kingdom of Predators and its variations is a direct reference to this very loss. And although we are accustomed to second chances, Kingdom of Predators is a harrowing reminder that human experience is finite. The Little Man's Rose combined with this OST make it painfully clear that the Hiroshima-Nagasaki bombing wasn't just some chapter in a history book. It was a real occurrence that humanity as a whole should actively make sure it avoids in the future. Some mistakes just cannot be taken back, and no amount of lamenting can change that. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Let me know what you want me to cover next, and I'll see y'all later.